Y'all wanted a story time, so I'm gonna give y'all a story time. Hey girlies! Get ready with me while I tell y'all a little story about how my boyfriend of nearly 4 years cheated on me with my neighbor. And that's pretty much the story. I feel like I need to give like some context about life before I met him. I just turned 18, ended up going to college at College of Charleston for just a little bit, for the 1 year. I like did the typical freshman experience, you know, went out, all the things, whatever. In the second semester of my freshman year, I ended up being like incredibly like depressed, but also still wanted to like hold on to these things that were giving me like a semblance of joy. I had like some friends from church who like I would hang out with pretty often, and for whatever reason we were hanging out, and then we decided like, oh, like we have nothing else to do, let's go to the gym in my friend's neighborhood. So that's what we did. We went to the gym in my friend's neighborhood. While I'm there with my friends, we're literally just goofing off. Like there were 2 guys that were there, and one of them really caught my eye, and I kept noticing that he was looking at me. Also, if you know me, I never actually think that guys are giving me the attention that they're really giving me. I don't know how to pick up on clues. I also just never think like, oh, they're looking at me. I just would never fathom that, oh, they're looking at me. And then he says something directly to me. I think he like asked me like if I actually worked out, and I was like, yeah, like I work out. I used to run track, I used to be in cheer, and I took weightlifting. And he was like asking me a whole bunch of stuff about weightlifting, and so I was telling him about, you know, that experience, blah 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 blah. My friend at the time was like, oh, he's flirting with you. And she had known him from high school. I think they were like a year apart or something like that, and maybe like she was dating like one of his friends or something. I can't remember. But we had met, and then we ended up going on like 2 dates, and like at the beach, because the beach was not far from my college. So he picked me up, we went to the beach, we walked the beach and like sat and chilled and like stargazed and all this stuff. It was really cute, really sweet at the beginning. I think he ends up asking me out at some point. I don't remember how, but he asked me out, and I was like, yeah, would love that, because I definitely felt like this boy was way out of my league. We dated. He was really, really great at the beginning. We talked about a lot of different things, like our childhoods, and like there were some similarities there, like not necessarily growing up like with our dads in the household and stuff like that. He's got a blended family. I have step siblings. Our goals for the future and what we wanted, like success wise and family wise and things like that. He was very, very sweet. Now that I look back and like have language for it, I think there was a lot of like love bombing going on. And then for my 19th birthday, I had never like gone on vacation with a boyfriend, obviously. I was 18, now turning 19. For my 19th birthday, we went to Florida, and we went to like Disney and Universal, and we went to like Discovery Cove and all this stuff. Like he paid for the whole thing. He set the whole thing up. He paid for the whole thing. It was very, very kind. And like I had a hard time telling my mom, because if you know my mom, she's very, very strict, very, very traditional. Like, oh, you shouldn't be going on vacation with a man that you're not married to or even engaged to. Like this is literally your boyfriend and has been your boyfriend for like 6 months now. 5 or 6 months. I think we started dating in like February. We did that. Oh my God. She was very reluctant to let me go. I definitely should not have gone. For those of you who are like not very much into like the Christian world, the like idea of staying the night with a man who is not your husband, or being in the same bed as someone who is not your husband, is definitely not allowed. But I broke the rules anyways, because I was young and dumb, and I thought like, well, he's already paid for it, like I'm not gonna tell him no. So I went. I think my mom and I got into an argument about that, but whatever. We're having a good time. Whatever, we come back, it's good. We're talking about like our future and like how we want to be together and all these things, and again, more and more love bombing and telling me exactly what I want to hear and all this stuff. And I'm too young to know anything different, right? So I kind of roll with it. I think that this is what love is supposed to be like. But we're about to get real personal, okay? We're gonna get really, really personal. So if you're with me, you're with me, and you don't have to watch any more parts if you don't wanna watch any more parts, but I am gonna get really personal on the internet. Whenever I was young and like dumb, I had already like lost my virginity by this point. And like my mom and I had a very serious conversation about that, and it was very emotional. I'm also just an emotional person, and so like a lot of those feelings kind of came out in that moment. I wanted to adhere to like my faith and my values and things like that, and I wanted to, you know, uphold the traditions of saving yourself for marriage. Even though I had already given myself to somebody, I wanted to, you know, try and save myself for marriage. Also, like my flesh is real, and like I wanted certain things, and so I gave into that, and like I would try and like go back. And this was also partially my fault. Like I would give in, and then I'd be like, oh my God, like I don't want to do that anymore. Had lots of conversations, had been like kind of sidebarred from serving and things like that because I was doing things that I had no business. But he would always like ask and always insist that like, oh, we can just do it this one time. We can just do it this one time and then we don't ever have to do it again until we're married. And I'm like, I don't know. But I guess I would just kind of give in. And then every other time it would just be the same conversation. Like, oh, we don't need to do it. Like, we'll never do it ever again until we're married, you know? And then it was just the same cycle over and over and over again. Okay, I feel like this is gonna be like really, really long. So meet me over in part 2. I love you guys. I'm so sorry. I feel very vulnerable. Like I'm literally sharing my entire life on the internet. This is kind of crazy. Oh my God. If I post it, then I had some bravery, but also like part of this is like my testimony. Why I am the way that I am now. And so I don't know, maybe this will help somebody out, but I don't know. I'm so scared. If I post this and I got some confidence, if I don't post this, then whatever. Hey girlies. Y'all, I'm literally sweating because I'm so nervous telling this story, but welcome to part 2 of Get Ready With Me while I tell you the story of how my boyfriend of nearly 4 years cheated on me with my neighbor. I left off talking about how we would just always, you know, kind of go against our morals and our values. And he knew that I was a Christian and like those are things that I wanted to uphold and this, that, and the third. And he would say like, oh yeah, same thing for me. And it's true that a lot of people have different interpretations of what Christianity might be. He definitely came from a family of means, and I've told you guys this before, we were definitely not a family of means, and so like he would try and buy my love, and I told him like that's not something that I really appreciate. Like I do appreciate gifts, but they also make me genuinely uncomfortable because like I feel as though I owe something back to you. He's like, no, you know, like you don't owe anything to me. Like it's not like that. I was broke and like trying to find a job after I dropped out of college, and like I would have a job, but I didn't necessarily have a whole lot of money. And he would give me money to go and like do whatever I wanted. Like I would pay my bills and stuff like that. And if there was something like extra that I wanted to do, like he would give me money. At this point, we've been like dating for about, we'll say like a year and a half. We had gone through some ups and downs. I wrecked his car at one point because I had wrecked my car and I was using his car while he was using his work truck. But I was using that so that I could get to work. And then I got into an accident and I felt really, really bad. And he was like, it's totally fine. I feel like this is just so all over the place. But bear with me. I'm so sorry. Like I'm really trying to like get this together so that this makes sense for you guys. We had kind of gotten to this point where it was almost like we're just preparing. Like I'm literally just waiting for him to like propose. And that kind of was like the tension for the rest of our relationship. He had like dropped this hint. Like there was one time we were in his car before I wrecked it. We were in his car and he was like, don't look in the back seat. Don't look in the back seat. And I was like, oh, what's back there? And we had already like looked at rings. We had already like picked out the one that I wanted. He just kind of ended up like being like, oh, don't look in the back seat. Don't look in the back seat. And I was like, oh, what's back there? And he was like, oh, like it's a surprise. Like you'll find out soon. Okay. And I was like, well, what can it be? Like I literally like, I just needed to grab something out of the back seat. Like I was genuinely like hell bent on like, I just need to grab something from the back seat. He was like, I'll get it for you. I'll get it. And he was like, just don't look in the back seat. And I was like, okay, I won't look in the back seat. Like what is back there? And he was like, I can't tell you, but like we've talked about it a lot and like you'll like it, but I can't give it to you right now. And I was like, okay, like whatever. And I was like, what is it, like a freaking ring? Just like as a joke. He was like, he like kind of got like quiet and like had like a little bit of a smirk on his face. And I was like, oh, is it a freaking ring? Like I'm starting to panic at this point because oh my gosh, like I don't know, I think I was actually like 20 or 21 at this point. Fast forward a little bit longer. I think now we're at like about like 2 years. I'm saying that I want to uphold our values, right? And he's still kind of pushing. But then also like when I would not give him what he wanted, he would pull away and like get really, really distant, kind of not necessarily talk to me. I definitely have like daddy issues and like attachment issues and like, or like abandonment issues. All things that, again, I talked about in therapy and like why certain relationships are very hard for me. I had a hard time with him like pulling away like that. Like he would give me all this love and then you'd pull it away, and then you'd give me all this love and then you'd reel it back in. And it's like, okay, well, if I give you what you want, then I feel like I get the love that I want and feel as though I deserve in return. That was what I did. I would try and give him what he wanted, but when I withheld, he had like fully retreated. And I was like, okay, like what's going on? And he was like, I just need for us to go on a break. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, how long are we going to be on a break? And he was like, this is how long I think I need. I just need to think about things, blah, 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 blah. Now, Should this have been red flag number like 59? Yes. But again, I was young, I was naive, and I am a certified lover girl. Like, I love love and want love so badly for myself. And so I was kind of just like, okay, well, I'll give him what he wants, and then maybe like whenever we come back to each other, I will get what I felt in this relationship in the past. So we had gone like on this break. I think he wanted it for like a week, but I think it ended up being like longer. We had kind of like essentially just like broken up, but still would kind of talk to each other every now and again, which is just not good. If a guy asks you, like, most of the people who are following me are of age to know this, but if a guy asks you for a break, just break up with him. And if you feel like you need to ask for a break, just break up. I should have known that. But also there was this one guy that was at work who was significantly older than me. I think he was in his 30s. I was in my early 20s. He also had a kid, but he was divorced. This is so embarrassing. He was giving me like a lot of attention, the attention that I was like desiring or whatever. And he and I had met out one time. And I don't like feel like weird saying this because my mom already knows about this, because I will tell you in a second. I had met up with him and like we were just talking or whatever, and we ended up kissing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I essentially cheated. And like it was starting to eat me alive. And I went to my boyfriend at the time, we'll call him A. I went to A and I was like, we had like a really, really good day. Honestly, this is probably the worst time to tell him. But we had like a really good day together, and I was like, it's eating me alive. And I'd already like made a promise to God, like, I'm going to confess. I just needed to get this off of my chest, and like, I'll take whatever consequences come. Now, was I still hoping that we'd be together? Absolutely, because I did love him. I tell him, I was like, hey, I have something to tell you, and you have every right to be upset with me and all these things and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, I had kissed so-and-so from work whenever we met out. This is when I should have known that we should not have been together ever again. I was called every name in the book other than a child of God in my like legal name. And we're driving back to like my house, and he's cussing me out, throwing everything at me. You're this, that, and third, and you're dirty, and da-da-da-da-da. I can't believe you would do such a thing, and blah, 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 blah. Like begging, like trying to explain and like trying to apologize, trying to like tell him like I'm sorry. And I went to go and like touch him and like kind of like leaned over in the car. We're on the road, by the way, and he shoves me into the passenger side door. I'm laughing because you have to laugh to, you know, get through the pain. And it's not funny at all. But he shoves me into the passenger side door, and again, is still like calling me every name under the sun but my name, or a child of God. And like at some point he says in his rant, it's okay, I effed so-and-so. And this was a girl that, oh my gosh, I just remembered something. Hold on. We're going to go to part 3 because I just need to tell, y'all need to know like all of the context and within this. Where I left off was, we're in the middle of an intense argument. He just says to me, it's okay, I effed so-and-so. It like started to click in my head at that moment. Like, this is why he was pulling away from me, because he had done what? And he like kept asking like, would you ever cheat on me? Would you ever cheat on me? Would you ever cheat on me? Leading up to this. And I was like, no, I'd never do that. And then it felt like I did. And so that's where a lot of that guilt came from, of like, I need to tell him because I broke his trust, I broke his promise, whatever. This so-and-so, we'll call her E. He effed E. E was a girl that he was with in high school. And E ended up having a kid either in high school or not long after high school. And they had dated pretty much all throughout high school. Also, this man has a type, because E looks like me, and the girl that he ended up cheating on me with looks kind of similar to me. It was this girl, she had a kid, and everyone claimed that, or like there was a rumor that went around that E's baby was actually his baby, was A's baby. She would call him and be like, oh my gosh, like I need your help. He'd send her money. That was also another red flag. I should have been out by that point. He would send her money to help her like pay for like baby stuff and all this, that, and the third. And like, if that baby's not yours, like I get it. You want to help children, you know, all the things, you want to help a single mom, but like, I think she had been dating a guy at one point, and he still sent her money, and like she like would take that as an advance of like, oh, like A still wants to be with me. That was like a huge point of contention between us. So whenever he says, it's okay, or it's whatever he said, it's okay, I effed E. I was like, oh, so why are we yelling at me? Like, I started to get kind of defensive, and if you know me, I'm actually slightly crazy. So I started yelling back, but then I'm also like very, very timid. Like, I'm crazy, but I'm a little bit scared. We're gonna go back to your house and we're gonna tell your mom, because I was still living with my mom at that time. He was like, we're gonna go back to your house, we're gonna tell your mom what you did, blah, 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 blah. And I was like begging him, like, no, please don't, like, all this stuff. And so we get there and he's like, either you tell her what happened or I'm gonna tell her what happened. And I was like, I don't wanna have that conversation with her. Like, that's so embarrassing. I don't think that we should involve my mom. That's really weird. Quickly rushes up to the house, like, knocks on the door, like, very, very kind of crazy, like, and is like, can I talk to you? And I'm sitting in the car, like, literally dumbfounded. And my mom's like, come in the house right now. I'm thinking she's gonna be pissed off at me. And she's gonna, like, beat, like, I thought that my mom was about to beat my 20-something-year-old behind. Which, if you knew my mom, or if you know my mom, could have happened. Like, trying to mediate the situation, because she sees very visibly that he is, like, very upset. She's obviously very disappointed in me, and she's like, I don't understand, like, why you would do something like that, and like, why would you? Also, she was upset because the guy that I was talking to at my job was so much older than I was. But the whole time that we're having this conversation with my mom, I'm thinking to myself, like, she doesn't even know what you did. Like, she only knows what I've done, but I'm protecting you from my mom, because I also knew that my mom would have handled some business had she known that he had done what he did to me, even though I should have. Because I know that my mom would also give me very, like, wise advice. She would have told me, like, Amina, this is not good. Like, you don't need to be with somebody who is doing something like this and who is treating you like this. And I think after that conversation, she did end up making, like, a comment of, like, maybe you guys just, like, don't need to be together. Like, how he had reacted, and that just wasn't something that she found to be appropriate. And she was like, you swear you did nothing other than just kiss this guy? And I was like, Mommy, I swear on my life, like, nothing else. And she was like, yeah, then I don't necessarily feel like that reaction was warranted. We, like, break up, like, for real break up. Like, we had taken some time apart, but we were still, like, communicating with each other. Like, either I'd reach out to him because, like, I felt lonely, or he'd reach out to me because he knew that he would probably get out of it what he was looking for. We ended up getting back together. Y'all, I know y'all are screaming at the phone like, girl, please, please don't date that man. Please do not date that man. But I did date that man for another, like, year and a half after that. We had gotten back together. We had dated for longer than that. He was still kind of crazy. And I thought that, like, I, like, definitely fed into the stereotype or the saying, whatever, of, like, in order to get something good out of your relationship, like, sometimes it's hard. Like, you guys go through, like, a really rough season. So I thought that this was just a really rough season. No, girl, you just didn't need to be dating him. I would pray all the time to God, like, if he's not for me, like, if he's not my husband, then, like, at least allow me to prepare him for whoever his wife is. I would just kind of, like, take it, because I didn't want somebody else to take it. So we kept dating, still no ring, still talking about, like, oh, we want a future together. I think, like, we had, like, baby names picked out, like, you know, all this stuff. When it was good, it was really good. And when it was bad, I mean, like, it was bad. Screaming. I don't really raise my voice at people, but for him, I would, like, be yelling, like, screaming at him. Fast forward to about, I think this was, yeah, it was 2020. And this is when it really starts to get to the point where, like, all right, we should probably not be together anymore. At the beginning of the year, things were actually really, really solid. And, like, we were doing pretty well. In the middle of the year, I turned 22. And that was super exciting. My friends had planned, like, he and my friends had planned this whole trip for, like, us to go to Greenville and celebrate my birthday. And I thought that that was really sweet. But I had no idea that this was happening. I had no money saved up for it to happen. And so I just kind of, like, was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Like, they had booked the place. They had, you know, figured out travel, all that stuff. And it was very much like a girls trip, but also, like, we're going to go and celebrate Amina's birthday. And over that trip, like, because again, like I said, if there were any extra things that I needed, or, like, if I, you know, just, like, wanted to do something fun, he would send me money. And so I'd asked for help this time. Like, I was like, hey, we're on this trip. I have, like, no money. I paid my bills for this month. Like, I don't necessarily have anything to, like, actually enjoy this trip. And there were a few times, like, where my friends would, like, buy us food or whatever, or, like, buy me food or whatever. But, like, if I wanted something for myself, or if I wanted more drinks than they were willing to pay for, then I'm not, like, I wanted to be able to also pay for myself. He, like, had, like, a really hard time, like, saying yes. And I was like, you don't have to, like, you can say no. And he was like, yeah, like, I'll give it to you, but I don't necessarily want to. Okay, then don't. You know what I mean? Like, then don't. Like, don't send me anything if you don't want to. And I think he ended up doing so anyways. And I was like, I really do appreciate it. You know, I'll pay you back whenever I get paid. And he was like, no, don't worry about it. Like, it's whatever. That sparks up an entire argument. You were asking me for money and da-da-da-da. I said, listen, I told you I'd pay you back whenever I got paid. I'm waiting to get paid. I told you, don't send it to me if you don't want to. Like, that's totally fine. I understand. But you sent it anyways. And so I'm still going to adhere to what I said I was going to do. No, don't send me the money back. It's done now. It's done now. Blah, 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 blah. I'm just saying. And he was really starting to like pull away from me. Like, it was like very slowly, very gradually. This time we're like pulling away. Fast forward to about September. I felt like I was very much maturing and stepping in. Like, I felt like I was on the precipice of stepping into a very new season of my life and a very new version of myself. And little did I know that it was going to come with such emotional turmoil, but I think I needed that. He really starts to pull away from me, and he had asked for a break. I'm gonna go ahead and do a part 4, because now I'm really getting into the nitty-gritty of like how all of this came to fruition, and I feel like that's going to be long, and this will be even longer if I don't take this out. So sorry. Hi, welcome to part 4 of Get Ready With Me while I tell you about how my boyfriend of nearly 4 years cheated on me. I am already ready, but I just want to go ahead and finish this story. Like I was saying, in around October type of deal, I think we'd had like a women's gathering or something like that in October. It was either September or October. And he had asked for a break. I was like, okay, whatever. How long? And he was like, you know, I don't really know. And I was like, I think I'm confused, because we're having conversations with people about how we want our future to be marriage. You were talking to my mom about how you wanted our future or the next step to be marriage, and for us to be in a marriage for life, because both of us have seen our parents' marriages not last the test of time. To our friends, we're talking to my mom, we're talking to our pastor, who was also a dear friend of mine. He's like an older brother to me. This is what you're saying up front, but now you're asking me for a break behind closed doors. I'm very confused. This feels very out of left field. You know, I don't really know how long, but we'll see. I'll let you know, like, when I feel like. He's like, I just want to get myself right, and I want to be, I quote you, I'm not kidding. He said, I just want to be the man of God that you deserve. Great, love that, because yes, I want a man who's going to be like what he feels as though I deserve. I should have known. For whatever reason, he decided to like serve at this women's gathering, because like the men were making sure that things were set up so that like the women could just come and be able to actually enjoy it. Even the ones that were like on staff and the ones that were like interns, which I was part of like decor and like guest services. That was my internship. And so I had a hand in a lot of things, and I was behind the scenes in a lot of things, and I was hoping that he would not serve. Boom, I get there. He's like walking up to me. I'm walking to go into the building because I have a timeline to me. He's like, hey, and like goes to give me a hug, and I was like, hey, gave him like a side hug, whatever. I was like, well, I have to. He was like, you look really good right now. And I was like, I know, because I did. And I think that was like one of those times where I was like, Stella's getting her groove back. She did not have her groove back at all, y'all. She did not, right? I'm just going to do my thing. I'm going to hang out with my friends. I'm going to do my job, because that's what I was there to do. And I did my job and very much avoided him. He tried to come over and talk to me and my friends. And they were all kind of giving him the cold shoulder. And like, we're all just kind of like, I don't understand. Like, I genuinely, like, you asked for this. The event goes really, really well. It was super fun. And he like was like, oh, can we like maybe hang out and talk afterwards? And I was like, sure, you know, why not? I thought that we were going to get back together. And that was kind of what it felt like was going to happen once we had that conversation. So we had that conversation. We're thinking about maybe like we'll get back together, but then also no, because I'm like texting him and I was like, hey, like, you know, like, hey, like, how are you doing? Checking on him, all these things. And he's like, I said like, we're on a break. And I was like, yeah, but any other break that we've been on, we've still communicated. And he was like, well, I don't want to communicate right now. Okay. His birthday is in August. A's birthday is in August. And he had said like way earlier in the year, like, for my birthday, I really want to go skydiving and I'd love for you to come with me. And I was like, this might have been like right after, this might have been like in July. We might have had the women's gathering in July. And I was like, you know, like, I've never been skydiving. That kind of scares me, but like, I'll go, like, if that's what you want to do. And he was like, okay. And then it kind of just like fell off. And like, still, we're not really talking. We're still not really talking. This is around the time, September, October is around the time, like, when like, we're really starting to fall off. I'm like texting him, trying to like communicate, you know, we're trying to have conversations and stuff, or I'm trying to have conversation. I don't want to talk to you. Okay, well, like I said, any other time that we've been on a break, we've communicated. Well, I don't necessarily want to talk this time. Okay, how long? For how long? Because you're saying that like we're gonna get back together. You've told me that we're gonna get back together. I want to know like how long am I supposed to be waiting for? Because if you're not actually gonna come back to me, I just want to know so then I can move on with my life. So I'm not sitting here waiting around for you. Never really got a full answer. You know, I'm trying to get right with God. I'm trying to get right with God. I'm trying to get right with God. Okay. What are you trying to feel? What are you trying to achieve? What's your marker? Like, what are you looking for? What's your benchmark to say like, okay, like I've gotten to the point where I feel like I'm the man that she deserves. Couldn't give me an answer. So we get to the point where I'm having conversations with my friends very much outside of him that are like kind of friends with him, like my friends that are like actually my friends, but they're friends with him because he was dating me, right? Somebody had asked me like, oh, how are you guys doing? And I was like, you know, we're like better, you know, like here's how things are going. And I was very transparent. I will tell you pretty much anything. If you ask, I'm very much an open book. Like, oh, they're good, they're better. Like we're thinking about like maybe getting back together and like really fixing our relationship. And one of my friends said, oh, that's incredibly interesting. And I said, why? And they said, oh, because he posted on his story that like on Instagram, a picture of him and we're going to call her S. Insert the main two characters. We're going to call her S. Like, oh, he posted a picture of him with S. And I said, oh, I didn't know that. I find out that he has me blocked. He not only has me blocked, but he has both of my roommates blocked and another one of my friends blocked. But we lived in this apartment, and like 3 of us that were in it, and 2 of our friends would come over like every weekend we call it auntie time. And we would hang out and like have like wine and have dinner. Like one of my friends would cook. I would pour up wine for everyone, make sure that everyone was like, you know, they've got their beveragino. We're hanging out and we're just talking, we're chit-chatting and stuff. And I'm actually stewing. I'm low-key on the inside going absolutely crazy. Well, one of my friends was not blocked. I said, you said that you saw that picture of him with S, right, on his story? She goes, yeah. And I said, is it still up? She was like, yeah. And I said, do me a favor and send it to me. So she sends it to me and I see a screenshot. I've never, ever in my life blacked out from anger until that day. I look at the picture, I start to feel my blood boil, and I'm like trying to like chit chat and whatever. And they're like, oh my gosh, I mean, like, what the heck? And I know, like, I know this girl because she lives next door to us. Like, I'm talking about our apartment is here, her apartment is right here. We shared a wall. Like, one of my roommates literally shared a wall with her living room, okay? We heard everything that was going on in her apartment. We heard every argument that she was having with her boyfriend at the time. We literally were hearing her kick him out like a week before I had seen this picture, right? So it was insane. It was insane. But I'm not mad at her. I'm mad at him. Oh, okay. And we're chit-chatting. I said, you know what? I'm gonna be right back. So I grab my keys, I get my car. I don't think I've ever driven faster in my life. I've never blacked out. Like I literally was getting tunnel vision. I was like, I'm gonna get a ticket. I'm probably gonna get arrested. I was swerving in and out of traffic. Like I literally was like to the point where like, I was like, you need to calm down because you're gonna get into an accident and hurt somebody. So I drive up to his apartment, right? And mind you, this apartment that he has, whoo, I'm gonna come back for a part 5. I'm so sorry that this is taking so long. But I just want you to have like as many details as you possibly can. Like genuinely, I'm so sorry this is taking so long. And I'm sorry that the context, I made that so many videos. But we're here, girlies, we're here. As I mentioned in this last video, I'd driven to his house or his apartment. I'm fuming. I'm literally like starting to black out. I've never felt like this ever a day in my life. Mind you, this apartment that he's in, I helped him move into. My car had like, I think I'd locked my keys in my car or like my car had like broken down or something like that. And I called him for help and he was like, okay, like I can come and get you, but I have to move my stuff into my apartment. Like we're supposed to get our keys today. I don't have time to like lollygag or whatever. Like I have an hour to spare. And he was like, yeah, no, I'll get you there on time. And it was taking forever. And the person he's calling, trying to get his keys, whatever, all this stuff. And like it took forever and I ended up being late. This apartment that he's in, I helped him move into it. And then came back later and helped him move more stuff into it and to organize his apartment. And that's where we ended up having that like initial conversation where he was like, you know, like I still want to be with you and stuff like that, but like I'm trying to like get myself together. Go over there and I'm like banging on the door. And I don't care who's gonna call the cops. I don't care who's gonna call like the leasing managers or whatever. I'm banging on this door like a mad woman. Do like crazy. He's not there or he's like not coming to the door. And at some point, like, I stayed out there for a long time. Like, I went back to my car. I came back up there. I'm knocking on the door. I'm calling him. He's sending me to voicemail. I'm calling him again. He ends up blocking me. And I go back up to knock on the door, and his roommate comes. And his roommate's like, hey, like, what are you doing here? And I was like, is Avery home? And he's like, no, I think he's at his friend's house. And I was like, well, can you tell him to call me? And he was like, yeah, I guess. Also, his roommate had a girl, so I think I might have ruined their time. But I was like, can you tell him to call me? And he was like, yeah, I mean, like, I can try. So I think he texted him or whatever, and he was like, yeah, he said, like, he'll call you in a little bit. And I was like, no, tell him to call me right now. And he was like, well, I can't, you know, he's the middleman at this point. But I was like, tell him to call me right now. Pretty sure that he knew exactly what I was talking about and why I was at their apartment banging on their door like I was. This is so embarrassing. Like, I'm embarrassing myself right now. Like, I'm literally recounting this for all of my internet girlies. But I told y'all I would deliver, so I'm delivering. Anyways, call him. I'm on my way home because I was like, I need to go home. I called him and I was like, where the F are you? Why the F didn't you answer my calls? Why the F did you block me? All this stuff. Like, I'm literally like yelling in the phone. And he's like, bro, I was at my friend's house watching the match, because he was a big like UFC guy. He used to like box and stuff like that whenever he was younger. I don't give up where you were. If you were watching some game, like, I called you, you didn't answer. And he was like, it's not that big of a deal. I was just at my friend's house. And I was like, I don't care. I need to talk to you right now. He's like, well, you're yelling at me, da 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 da. I don't really want to talk. And I was like, at that point, I did not care. I was losing my mind. First off, how did you ask me to go skydiving with you and then you go in skydiving with somebody else? Second, how do you even know my neighbor? Like, we would see each other in passing. He would come over to my apartment and hang out, and like her S and her man at that time would be like going out to go and do whatever. Well, technically her baby daddy, because she already had one kid. We would all see each other in passing, say our highs, hope you have a good day, how are you today, whatever. Y'all know each other, how are y'all talking, da 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 da, and like all this stuff. And he's like, listen, I'll call you tomorrow whenever you cool off or whatever. So fast forward, we end up having another conversation. I think we actually had this conversation in person. And I was like, explain to me like how this ended up starting. Like, how do you actually know her to the point where y'all are going skydiving together? Also, isn't she with somebody else? He was like, no, like, she kicked him out, they broke up, blah 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 blah. Weird that you know that. And then he was like, oh, well, I like met her at the gym. She recognized me from, this is what he's telling me. I don't know who's telling me the truth. But he was like, she recognized me from coming to your apartment. Okay. We were just chit-chatting, and she had asked, like, are we still together? And I told her that we were on a break. And I said, when did y'all meet? And he told me whenever they met. And I said, but at that time we were not on a break. No, we were. And I was like, no, I remember. We were not. We were very much still together. Well, I told her that we were on a break and whatever. And she was telling me about her relationship and stuff like that and all these things and da 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 da. And I said, so how did meeting at the gym like lead to us going skydiving? And he gave me some BS story. I don't even know what the story was. So what do you want? Like, do you want to, because at this time I have no idea about the other things that are like literally at hand. And I said, what do you want? Do you want her or do you want to be with me? He's like, I don't know. Okay, like, well, can you figure it out? So then I have some clarification. I don't know what's going on. You've made promises to me. You've had conversations, again, with my mom. If you know me, you know that having that kind of conversation with my mom, like, means a lot to me. Because it feels like you're making that promise to my mom. And I love my mom. I hold her opinion very highly. Also, he had met my dad. And my dad and my stepmom had given their stamp of approval, and I was like, okay, great. Now you're saying that you might actually want to be with somebody else. Like, that really threw me, and that started like my spiral. Go back and forth between like being like sad and then being like genuinely pissed off. And I would call him all the time. I'm gonna do, I don't know what part this is. I think this is a part 6. I don't know. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that this is taking so long, but I'm gonna give you another part because like this is like genuinely like what ended up happening. And maybe this was all that you were looking for, but we're gonna go to the next part. Hey girlies, welcome to hopefully the last part of Get Ready With Me while I tell you about how my boyfriend of nearly 4 years cheated on me with my neighbor. Yes, I am done like getting ready, but I just wanted to get this all out in one take and not have to do this again. You probably have seen like my countenance has kind of changed a little bit, and that's because like I feel bad for younger me. We had another conversation and I was like really, really angry. And I was like, well, let me talk to her. And he was like, no, like you can't. And I said, let me talk to her. And he was like, you can't, like she can't talk to you right now. And I'm putting stuff together. And he would never let me talk to her. He'd never let me meet with her face to face. I think he thought that I was going to fight her. I've never been in a fight in my entire life. He was like, you can't talk to her. And I was like, why not? And he was like, Amina, you just can't. And I was like, why not? Like, tell me why I cannot talk to her. Like, the math was like starting to add up. And in this moment, I think he had already told me in one of the conversations that he had slept with her. Fast forward to this conversation, I said, the only reason why you wouldn't want me to talk to her, because you think that I would do something to her, is because she's pregnant. What? And I said, she's pregnant, isn't she? And he was like, I don't want to, and like, I'm literally, and I think he like hung up. And I'm like trying to call him back. And he finally picks up and I was like, you got her pregnant, didn't you? And he's like, Amina, please stop. And I was like, you got her pregnant, didn't you? Like, just say it. And he was like, stop, Amina, like, please just stop. I don't want to have this conversation with you. And I was like, tell me the truth. Like, I need to know. I need to hear you say that that's what you did. Did you get her pregnant? Yes or no? He was like, stop, Amina. I was like, it's a simple question with a simple answer. Yes or no? And finally, he like very sheepishly just goes, yes. That was my moment to cuss him out and call him every other name but a child of God, which is not one of my best moments. I had all this pent up frustration and I was letting go of something that I thought I was going to have. And that initial gut punch led me to anger. Like, I felt myself sinking into a very, very dark place, like spiraled out for a long time. Like I bargained with him of like, please just take me back. In denial. Like, I genuinely was in denial. And I was grieving this relationship that I had also invested so much into. Like, I was grieving what I thought my future was going to look like. And it was really, really bad. And for a couple months there, I was not well. Like, could not get out of bed, could barely eat, teetering alcoholism, and like genuinely was like contemplating, like, do I still want to be here anymore? And I know that sounds very, very dramatic for like just to be cheated on, but it brought up so many other emotions that I already had like within me that I had suppressed for a very, very long time. Thank God for my mentor. She became like another mom. She talked me through. She was like, some days we're just gonna come in here and you're just gonna vent and we might just cry, and it's okay. Like, it's okay. I'm not crying because I miss that relationship. I think like it sucks to know that like that Amina was hurting so bad, and like I wish that I could just like take that from her. It like genuinely sucked. And it's like a funny story now. Like, I can joke about it now and like definitely gloss over the part where like I'll be like, oh, and I was like super depressed, you know, like whatever. But I was super depressed. I was very, very depressed and did not want to be here anymore. I was confronting so many different things at the same time. And like I said, I struggle with a lot of different things. And I'd known leading up to this moment that I was on the precipice of like change, of things shifting in my life, of things looking very, very different, and stepping into a new version of myself. I just didn't know that it was going to take this. And there was one time where like I just like was so downcast, and my mentor, she like looked at me and she was like, you have got to get up. You are not this girl. Like, this is not who you are. And every day you walk in here and it just looks like you are on the ground. Like, you have just been like you have this weight on you, and you've been on the ground. You've been pinned down by like this heavy darkness, and you've just like let it take you over. And she said, I don't care what you have to do, but you have got to get up. Like, that changed my life and gave me the confidence to move forward, but also to know that like there was somebody who saw me in my pain and in my afflictions. And not that like my friends didn't, not that my roommates didn't, but someone who was older and who was wiser, and that wasn't my mom. But yeah, I started to get up, and there were times where it felt like boundaries were crossed. They ended up being together for a while. I don't even know if they're still together now. He had called me at some point and apologized, and you know, said I was super immature and all the things. And she at some point had called me and apologized and said she had no idea. And you know, it kind of sucks because they have 2 kids now. So she has 3 altogether. And I don't know that they're still together. Yeah. And that is the story. I'm way better now. I've been through lots of different seasons of life. I've grown up a lot since then. And I've set boundaries for myself. I've dated. And now I'm with somebody who is the complete opposite. I'm very, very grateful. Even though some days it's like hard because I'm confronting old things, and old traumas and healing from that. But I'm learning to trust again. And obviously I trust this man because I moved from South Carolina to Tennessee to be with him, but I'm still learning to trust, and I'm still learning to receive love that isn't flashy, but is very, very genuine and real and authentic. Life is good now. I'm no longer in that dark place, thank God. That's actually how I got Kona, who just walked by. She was mine and A's dog, but now she's just my dog. And I almost gave her back to him, and he told me no, and I'm actually grateful for that. That is the story of how my boyfriend of nearly 4 years cheated on me with my neighbor and got her pregnant. So I hope that this was a great story time. I just relived some craziness for you guys. So know that I love you. But yeah, I'm sure there's another story time that I could give you, but I don't know. That's probably my best story time. That's probably my best like lore and character development story that I've ever had. I love you guys. Thank you for coming along and being a part of, you know, this journey. And yeah, I love you so much. Thank you for asking for a story time. This is really good. I needed to remember how far I've come, truly. I have come a long way. But again, I love you. Thanks for picking up the phone, and I will see you soon.